Welcome back, class 10, your civics class. As we all know that we have started the revision series. In the previous two classes we have finished revising the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. I am doing this revision series because this is according to the new changed syllabus of 2021, that is why. So today we will revise the president. So under this revision we have qualification for election, composition of electoral college, reasons for indirect election, term of office, procedure for impeachment, and under the functions we have executive, legislative and discretionary. So this is basically the portions which you will cover under the topic president. So qualifications for election. No person is eligible for election as president unless he is number 1, the citizen of India, number 2, completed the age of 35 years, number 3, qualified to become the member of the Lok Sabha. So these things, what we have learned, remains. A candidate for presidential election should not hold an office of profit under the government of India or the government of any state. However, a person is not deemed to hold an office of profit in case he is the president or vice president or governor or minister either of the union or of any state. Now, if a person is president or vice president, governor or minister, obviously that person will not work in any government office. A person holding the office of Speaker of Lok Sabha or a state assembly may contest for presidential election. An MP may contest for presidential election. If elected, he shall be deemed to have vacated the seat of the House on the day he enters upon the office of president. Obviously, a Speaker of the Lok Sabha, member of the state assembly or an MP can contest for a presidential post. If that person is elected for that post, if that person is selected for the post, that means if that person becomes the president, that person will have to vacate his previous office. That means he has to vacate his position as an MP or a speaker or a member of the assembly while he becomes the president. Now, presidential candidate will have to be proposed by 50 members of the electoral college and seconded by another 50 members. Although the term of office is not there, but you should know 5 years is the term of office. Now, composition of electoral college is there. The president is elected by the members of an electoral college. Electoral college means collection of members. It is not school, college, that college. The president is elected by members of an electoral college consisting of number 1, that is important, should remember, number 1, the elected members of both the houses of the parliament, number 2, elected members of the legislative assemblies of state. Okay. So it consists of the elected members of both the houses of the parliament and the elected members of the legislative assemblies of the state. This is the composition of the electoral college. Now, we all know that the president is elected indirectly. In other words, ordinary citizens like us play no part in the election. A few members of the Constituent Assembly wanted the president to be elected directly by votes. or by voters. But such a proposal was not found good enough for presidential elections. Why? Why we don't elect the president? There are 4 reasons basically. Number 1 reason is the power really resided in the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister and the Union Parliament, and not on the president as such. The president is basically in India is basically a rubber stamp. It's a decorative post. Although the president has to sign the bill to become an act, things are there, but basically it is a decorative post. So it's not that important post, but the main controlling power is in the hands of the Prime Minister. Therefore, it would be an anomaly if the president is elected directly by the people and is not given any real power. So this is the first point. Second point is, the framers of the constitution, those who framed the constitution, wanted the presidential election to remain quite a dignified affair. Quiet and dignified. Not like a general election where election campaigning will be there, howling and shouting on the road for president's election. No. President's election should be in a dignified manner. They knew that tremendous loss of time, energy, money will be involved if there is direct presidential election. Third number is, it would be very difficult to provide an electoral machinery for an election in which millions of people will have to participate, because every day the population of India is increasing by leaps and bounds. So it is very difficult to provide. One, you are spending money for general election, then you will spend money for the presidential election. It is futile, useless. And fourth, a direct election would place too much power in the hands of the masses. Obviously, too much power in the hands of the masses, because a high percentage of this mass is illiterate, so they don't know the correct candidate whom to choose the president. So these are the reasons for indirect election of the term of office. Now, term of office, we have decided it is there. Previously, I said it is not there. It is there, sorry. The president holds the office for a term of 5 years and is eligible for re-election. He may, by writing to the vice president, resign from his post. The resignation has to be communicated by the vice president to the Speaker of the Lok Sabha. Procedure for impeachment. A question often comes, name the process by which the president can be removed from the office. The name of the process is impeachment. The president can be removed from the office for violation of the constitution by impeachment. The resolution to impeach the president may be moved in either house of the parliament. It must be passed by 2/3 of the total membership of the house. Then the charges are investigated for for what reason this resolution has been passed. If these charges are proved right, the president has the right to appear in person in order to address the charges. He has the right to defend by a counsel. If the charges are sustained, it is if the charges are proved that yes, the president is guilty, then by the 2/3 votes in the other house as well, the impeachment succeeds. The president is removed from the office from the date on which the resolution is passed. So this is the whole process of impeachment. The president can be removed from the office for violation of the constitution by impeachment. The resolution to impeach the president may be moved in either house of the parliament. It must be passed by 2/3 of the total members of the house. Then the charges are investigated by the other house. The president has the right to appear in person in order to answer the charges. He has the right to have to be defended by a counsel. If the charges are sustained by 2/3 of the vote in the other house as well, the impeachment succeeds. then the president is removed from the office from the date on which the resolution is passed. Now we have in the powers, we have executive power, legislative power, and discretionary power. Okay. The council says that executive power of the union shall be vested, that means given to the president. The executive power embraces the following. What are the following? Head of the union executive. All executive orders are issued in the name of the president. Number 2, formation of the Council of Ministers. The constitution lays down that the Prime Minister is to be appointed by the president and other ministers are appointed by the president on advice of the Prime Minister. It is the duty of the Prime Minister to communicate to the president all decisions of the Council of Ministers. Okay. So what happens? The constitution lays the Prime Minister will be appointed. Who will give you the appointment letter? The president will give, obviously on the advice of the Prime Minister. Other ministers are appointed by the president again on the advice of the Prime Minister. And whatever communication is there regarding the decisions of the Council of Ministers, the Prime Minister as the head of the Council of Ministers communicates it to the president. Number 3, power to appoint and remove the high dignitaries of the states. The president appoints the Attorney General of India, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, judges of the Supreme Court, and those of High Court. The governors, ambassadors, the president appoints all the members of the Finance Commission, Union Public Service Commission, Chief Election Commissioner, and other members of the Election Commissioners. Very important. Who the important dignitaries whom the president appoints. The president has also the power to remove the ministers, attorney general and governors and other high dignitaries of the state. Number 4, administration of union territories. The constitution provides that every union territory shall be administered by the president. The president acts through an administrator which such designation as the president may specify. Very, very important. Now, control over state governments. The union government may give necessary directions to a state. During president's rule, the control of the union government over state is complete. So, these are the executive power. Now, what are the legislative power? Number 1, power to summon and prorogue the parliament and to dissolve the Lok Sabha. The president has got the power to summon and prorogue the parliament and dissolve the Lok Sabha. The power to summon the parliament is subject to the condition that 6 months shall not intervene, not lapse, between the last sitting in one session and the first sitting in the next session. The president has the power to dissolve the Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is a permanent body, so question doesn't arise. Number 2, nominating the members to the houses. The president nominates 12 members in the Rajya Sabha from prominent fields like literature, science, arts, social service, cinema. The president nominates 12 members in the Lok Sabha and 2 members in the 12 members in the Rajya Sabha and 2 members in the Lok Sabha. 12 members in the Rajya Sabha, 2 members in the Lok Sabha, and those 2 members from the Lok Sabha are from the Anglo-Indian community, provided that the community is not adequately represented. Number 3, right to address and send messages. Very important. The president, question comes, addresses both houses of the parliament assembled together at the first session after each general election and at the commencement of the first session each year. After general election, the first session, the president gives lecture or addresses both houses together, and on the first day of the first session each year. Joint sitting. Number 4, Assent to legislation. The President may give assent to a bill or may refuse assent, means signature. The President may also send back for reconsideration, and if it is sent back to him, he has to sign, provided it is not a money bill. Money bills cannot be introduced except on the recommendation of the President. Similarly, money bill cannot be introduced on recommendation of the President except on recommendation of the President. Very, very important. Similarly, a bill for formation of new states or alterations of areas of the existing state cannot be introduced except on his recommendation. Now, what is an ordinance? An ordinance is a direction or command of an authoritative nature. It has the same force and effect of an act of a parliament. Basically, an ordinance is passed when the parliament is not in session. This power is subject to the limitations that the ordinance can be promulgated, that means issued, at the time when both the houses of the parliament is not in session. And secondly, the President must be satisfied that the existing circumstances render it necessary to take that step, that you have to issue a ordinance, and the ordinance should be laid before both the houses of the parliament once it is opened and reassembled. Now, if the parliament disapproves, the ordinance is lapsed, and it also automatically lapses and becomes null and void after 6 weeks from the reassemble of the parliament if it is not passed, because ordinance is a temporary measure. Now, President's assent signature to state bills. Bills passed by the state legislature may be reserved by the governor for the consideration of President. Some important bills the governor might not sign. He might send it to the President. The President can refuse to sign the assent to the bill reserved for his consideration. The President can also send it back for reconsideration. A bill affecting the powers of the High Court must always be reserved. Any bill taking in account of the power of the High Court is always kept for the President for his consideration. Okay, so these are legislative power, very, very important. Discretionary powers is situations arise that President has to exercise some discretions from time to time. Although majority cases he acts according to the word of the Prime Minister. The President may withhold assent to a bill or send it back for reconsideration if it is not a money bill. Number 2, the Constitution does not prescribe any time limit within which the President is to declare his assent or refusal or return of bill for reconsideration. The President is at the liberty to decide what is right or proper. Number 3 is a situation may arise when after a general election no party or leader can get a majority, coalition government is formed. So the President shall have the freedom to decide who will be the Prime Minister from all the different groups. And the President should explore the possibility of forming an alternative government at the center. Why? It may be that the Prime Minister has lost the confidence of the Lok Sabha. Instead of submitting his resignation, the Prime Minister may ask for the dissolution of the House, that is the Lok Sabha. In this situation, the President is not bound to act on the advice of the Prime Minister. The President should explore the possibility of forming an alternative government at the center, because the Prime Minister has lost the confidence. So whatever he says, the President is not bound to listen. And fifthly, a situation may also arise when after resignation of the Prime Minister, several leaders stake their claims to succeed him, but they do not stand much chance of giving a stable government. The President could explore the possibility of forming an alternative government, failing which he would dissolve the Lok Sabha. So these are his discretionary powers. Basically, if you see it properly, when the Prime Minister is in a doldrum, in a no confidence position, then he becomes powerful. So this is basically the revision of your president according to the new changed syllabus of for ICSE 2021 exam. In the next class, we will revise the Prime Minister. Thank you.